You think you know a family. You think you've seen their highest highs and their lowest lows, played out in the public eye. For years, we watched, we speculated, we formed our opinions from the comfort of our living rooms. But what happens when the cameras finally stop rolling and a very real, very private crisis hits? What happens when the foundation of a famously large family is shaken not by scandal, but by sudden, silent sickness? Welcome. I'm Olivia, and today, we're going behind the headlines, beyond the clickbait, and into a story that has genuinely concerned thousands. The story that broke recently with startlingly simple, terrifying words: Duggar hospitalized. But this isn't about a former reality star facing consequences. This is about Jana Wissmann Duggar, a woman who built a life away from the main spotlight and the quiet devastation her sudden illness has wrought on her new family. This is a story about Stephen, a husband left pacing hospital floors, and about what it truly means to face a medical emergency when your life has already been lived in a fishbowl. Stick with me, because this story is still unfolding. And by the end of this, I'm going to ask you to do something incredibly simple yet powerful to show your support for this family in their moment of need. But first, we need to understand who Jana really is and why her situation is so uniquely heartbreaking. To call the Duggars a large family is an understatement of epic proportions. 19 kids and counting wasn't just a TV show, it was a cultural phenomenon that introduced the world to a specific way of life. In that sprawling family, certain names became household fixtures. Jill, Jessa, Jinger, Josiah. Their journeys, their courtships, their struggles became public property. But one member, perhaps the most enigmatic of them all, was Jana. Jana, the eldest daughter, often described as the helper, the quiet pillar. While her sisters married and started their own channels, their own social media narratives, Jana's path seemed different. She was often photographed as the steadfast rock at her parents' home, the organizing force, the caretaker. The public narrative painted her as perpetually waiting, the sister who was always there. That perception, however, did a profound disservice to the independent life she was quietly building. Her courtship with Stephen Wissmann was a breath of fresh air for many followers. It wasn't a whirlwind, heavily produced TV event. It was subtle, revealed through careful family blog posts and the occasional photo. Stephen came from a similarly large, respected family within their community, but one without the relentless TV scrutiny. He was a man who valued privacy, faith, and hard work. When they married, it felt less like a reality TV spin-off and more like the beginning of a genuine, grounded partnership. They seemed to consciously step out of the brightest glare of the spotlight. Their social media was sparing, curated, focusing on home projects, faith, and their shared life, not on creating content. That's what makes this current crisis so jarring. This was not a family playing out its dramas for ratings. This was a private couple building a quiet, new life together. And then, the floor dropped out. The news didn't come from a formal statement. It rarely does in the digital age. It came in fragments, a puzzle of concern that fans and followers had to piece together. A missed event here. A worried comment from a sibling there. A photo that showed a family gathering with a notable, worrying absence. The rumor mill, always churning for this family, began to spin with whispers of hospital and emergency. Then, the confirmations trickled in. A family friend, speaking on condition of anonymity, mentioned serious prayers needed. A close relative's social media post asked for prayers for Jana and Stephen, with a heartbreak emoji that spoke volumes. The pieces coalesced into a coherent, frightening picture. Jana Wissmann Duggar was in the hospital. This was not a planned procedure. This was an emergency admission. The nature of the illness remains rightfully private. Speculating on medical details is not only disrespectful, but violates the very privacy this couple has sought to protect. What matters is the severity and the suddenness. Imagine Stephen's world in that moment. One day, you're building a life with your new wife, planning for the future, enjoying the simple, unobserved peace you've created. The next, you're in an emergency room, the sterile smell of hospital antiseptic filling your senses, the beeping of monitors becoming the soundtrack to your worst fears. The paperwork, the frantic calls to family, the desperate waiting for answers from doctors, it's a universal nightmare. But for Stephen, this private hell is being dissected by the public. He is, by all accounts, devastated. Not just worried, but devastated. The word used by those close to him implies a level of shock and grief that goes beyond common concern. His partner, his teammate in this new life, is fighting something unseen and serious. His role has shifted overnight from husband to caregiver, advocate, and sole point of contact, all while managing his own torrent of fear. There are likely moments of sheer helplessness, sitting in a quiet hospital room, watching the person you love most fight to be well. The life they painstakingly built, their routine, their dreams for the coming months, all of it is on hold, replaced by the singular, grinding focus on recovery. And what of the wider Duggar family? This is a clan that has faced public storms before, controversies that played out in courtrooms and headlines. But this is different. This is not a moral or legal crisis. This is a visceral, human one. It's their sister, their daughter, their friend. The family that once shared everything on TV now faces the cruel irony of having their genuine pain become a topic of public consumption. They are rallying, of course. The family network, for all its complexity, is a tangible force in times of trouble. Meals are being organized for Stephen. Siblings are taking shifts to help where they can. Prayer chains, a central tenet of their faith, have been activated nationwide. But there's a palpable tension here. The family knows how the media machine works. They know a headline like "Duggar Hospitalized" drives clicks. They are trapped between wanting to acknowledge the concern of genuine well-wishers and fiercely protecting Jana and Stephen's right to medical privacy. Every statement is measured, every update vague, by necessity. They are walking a tightrope over an abyss of gossip websites and YouTube commentary. This leads us to the uncomfortable ecosystem that surrounds a story like this. The news breaks on platforms that profit from engagement. The headlines are crafted for maximum shock value. Very sick. Devastated after emergency. They tug at your heartstrings to tug at your click finger. And we, as consumers, are complicit. We click, we watch, we comment. We feel a sense of connection, of involvement in a family we've watched for years. But we must pause and ask, what is our role in this? Are we concerned neighbors, or are we rubberneckers at a digital accident scene? The line is thin. For Jana and Stephen, this isn't a story arc. It's a breathing, terrifying reality. Every speculative video, every gossip column item theorizing on her condition, adds a layer of noise to an already overwhelmingly difficult situation. It takes the energy Stephen should be using to support his wife and forces him to consider how their private agony is being framed for public consumption. This is where we, as a community of viewers, have a choice to make. We can be part of the noise, or we can be part of a different, more positive force. We can respect the silence. We can understand that no news is not a ploy for attention, but a plea for space. We can direct our energy not into speculation, but into support. And that brings me to my ask. Right now, the most powerful, advertiser-friendly, and positive thing we can do is to send a clear, unambiguous signal of support. Not with intrusive comments, not with demands for details, but with a simple, collective action right here. If this story has touched you, if you believe in the right to privacy during a medical crisis, if you want to send a wave of positive energy to Jana and Stephen without crossing boundaries, then I need you to do two things. First, make sure you've subscribed to this channel. We focus on thoughtful, respectful commentary, not exploitation. But more importantly, second, I want to see if we can get 5,000 likes on this video. Why? Because every single one of those likes will be a beacon. It will be a thumbs up not for the tragedy, but for their strength. It will be a silent, massive wave of, we are thinking of you, we support you, we are respecting your privacy. It will be a number that the family, if they ever see it, can interpret as tens of thousands of people standing with them in spirit, without asking for a single thing in return. It's a way to harness this digital community for absolute, uncomplicated good. Let's get to 5,000 likes and show what this community is really made of. While you're doing that, consider this. The road ahead for Jana and Stephen is long. Recovery from a serious illness is never a straight line. It's a marathon of good days and bad days, of hope and setback. They will need that reservoir of quiet support for weeks and months to come. Our job is to fill that reservoir, not to drain it with demands. In our next segment, we're going to delve deeper. We'll explore the immense pressure of facing a health crisis in the public eye, looking at historical examples of how other families have navigated this impossible path. We'll examine the psychological weight on Stephen as a caregiver and the unique dynamics of a family whose coping mechanisms are already so publicly known. The story is far from over, and understanding the full scope of this challenge is crucial. Now, let's go deeper. Let's talk about what happens after the ambulance leaves, after the initial flurry of urgent texts and calls. We've established the what, a medical emergency. But the how is where the true story of resilience or crushing pressure is written. How does a person, let alone a family already scarred by public scrutiny, navigate the labyrinthine, exhausting reality of a prolonged health battle? This isn't just about a hospital stay. It's about the marathon that follows. First, put yourself in Stephen's shoes, just for a moment. The initial adrenaline has faded. The doctors have given their updates, a mix of medical jargon and cautious prognosis. He's now sitting in a room that's become a bizarre new normal. There's the adjustable bed, the silent glow of the 4-pump, the too comfortable chair that's become his bed. His world has shrunk to these 4 walls. His purpose is singular: advocate, comforter, liaison, memory keeper for when Jana can't remember the day's events. This role of primary caregiver is one of the most profound and isolating journeys a person can undertake. He's making minute-to-minute decisions, translating doctor speak to concerned family members, trying to maintain a brave face for Jana while his own heart is fracturing. He's managing her pain, her fear, and his own, all while running on terrible coffee and fractured sleep. Every beep of a monitor jolts him awake. Every time a nurse walks in, he's preparing for news, good or bad. Now, layer onto that immense personal burden the uninvited guest, the public eye. Imagine, in your most vulnerable, sleep-deprived state, picking up your phone for a moment of distraction, only to see your family's trauma distilled into a clickbait headline on a gossip site. To see commentators you've never met speculating on your wife's condition, assigning blame, or even worse, turning your pain into a meme. It's a form of psychological whiplash. One moment you're holding your wife's hand, the next you're confronting the grotesque circus your personal life has become for strangers. This is the unique curse of having once lived on television. The public feels a sense of ownership, a familiarity that crosses the line into entitlement. We watched her grow up, becomes an excuse to demand details. For Stephen, who entered this family from a more private life, this must feel like a special kind of insanity. He didn't sign up for this part. He married Jana, not the paparazzi, not the YouTube analysts. His devastation is now compounded by a feeling of siege, of having his most sacred space violated. And what of Jana's experience? Sedated, in pain, floating in and out of consciousness, her reality is the illness itself. But in her clearer moments, the concerns that likely pierce through the fog are not about the public. They are profoundly personal, deeply human. Is Stephen okay? He looks so tired. What burdens is he carrying that he's not telling me? Are we going to be okay financially? Medical bills, even with insurance, can be catastrophic. Will I be able to be the partner I promised to be? Will this change the future we dreamed of, the simple dreams of a home, a family, a quiet life? These are the silent storms raging inside a hospital room. They have nothing to do with TV ratings or social media followers. They are the universal terrors of anyone facing a serious health event. The Duggars' past controversies, their beliefs, their fame, none of it matters in the face of these questions. This is the great equalizer. Illness strips away all the external narratives and leaves only the raw, human core, love, fear, and the will to survive. Now, zoom out from that hospital room. The Duggar family machine, for all its documented flaws and complexities, is also a machine of practical support. This is where we see the other side of a large, close-knit family. It's not just about prayer chains, though those are meaningful to them. It's about logistics. Someone, likely a sister or sister-in-law, has taken over the management of Stephen and Jana's home. Plants are being watered, mail is being collected, pets are being fed. A schedule has probably been made, a rotating roster of family members to sit with Stephen at the hospital, to bring him clean clothes and real food, to force him to take a walk outside for 10 minutes of sunlight. Meals are being prepared and delivered, not just for Stephen, but for the immediate family members who have dropped everything to help. It's a quiet, efficient mobilization born of necessity and love. Michelle and Jim Bob, as parents, are in a uniquely difficult position. Their daughter is suffering, and the tools they once relied on controlling the narrative through their own show are no longer theirs. They're supplicants, not producers. They must rely on the mercy of the media, a notoriously fickle entity. Their Instagram posts become delicate tap dances, acknowledging the situation to placate genuine followers while giving nothing away to protect their child. Every word is parsed, every emoji analyzed. The pressure to say something clashes violently with the imperative to say nothing. This public relations tightrope walk has historical precedents. Think of other families who have faced private medical crises in the spotlight. The British royal family, for instance, has mastered the art of the bland, non-specific health update. The patient is resting comfortably and is expected to make a full recovery is a classic for a reason. It gives hope while revealing nothing. Celebrities often hire specialized PR firms to handle medical communications, creating a firewall between the family and the press. But the Duggars exist in a strange middle ground. They are not A-list celebrities with a seasoned crisis team on retainer. Their communication is often homespun, via family blogs or social media, which makes them more vulnerable. They are also part of a community that values testimony and sharing prayer requests, which can unintentionally fuel the rumor mill. They are navigating without a perfect playbook, and we must extend grace for that. Which brings us back to us, the audience. Our consumption habits directly fuel the ecosystem that makes this harder for them. Algorithms don't distinguish between compassionate concern and morbid curiosity. They see engagement, clicks, watch time, comments. A video titled Jana Duggar Health Crisis, The Shocking Truth, will get pushed by the algorithm if people watch it. A respectful, thoughtful video like this one has to fight harder. By choosing how we engage, we are casting a vote for the kind of online culture we want. This is why that simple act of liking this video is so potent. You are telling the algorithm, promote this kind of content. Promote respect, promote empathy, promote boundary-aware commentary. You are actively draining energy from the exploitative model and fueling a better one. We're aiming for 5,000 likes to send that message in a massive, undeniable way. If you're watching, please be part of that signal. Hit the like button. Subscribe for more content that treats real people with dignity, even when they're public figures. Think also of the long-term impact on Jana and Stephen's relationship. Couples who endure a major health crisis early in marriage are forged in a fire most don't experience for decades. They're learning about in sickness and in health in the most visceral way possible, without the years of marital foundation others might have to lean on. This experience will irrevocably change the trajectory of their marriage. It could break it under the strain, or it could create a bond of unimaginable depth and understanding. Every small gesture of support from the outside, every message of love that respects their privacy, adds a brick to the foundation they are trying to rebuild. We also cannot ignore the financial elephant in the room. America's healthcare system is a financial gauntlet. Even with insurance, co-pays, deductibles, out-of-network specialists, and lost income from Stephen potentially not working create a mountain of stress. Some families in the public eye have turned to crowdfunding in such situations, but for a family like the Duggars, that comes with its own PR nightmare, accusations of grift or exploitation. They are likely bearing this burden silently, which only adds to the weight. As we near the end of this segment, consider the power of dignified silence. In our loud, opinion-saturated world, the most respectful stance we can often take is to step back, to not demand answers, to allow a family the space to breathe, to grieve, to hope, and to heal without composing a tweet about it. Our need to know is not greater than their need to heal. In our third and final segment, we will look forward. We'll explore what recovery might look like in the shadow of fame, the lasting psychological effects of this public-private trauma, and how we, as a community, can champion a new standard for how we treat the personal crises of public figures. The goal is not just to understand this story, but to learn from it. But before we go there, let's solidify our support. If you believe in the power of positive, respectful engagement, if you want to send a clear message to Jana, Stephen, and their family that they are surrounded by an invisible community wishing them peace and strength, then let's see those likes. We're building towards 5,000 likes as a monument of goodwill. Every single one counts. Hit subscribe to follow the story to its conclusion with the dignity it deserves. Take a moment. Think of them in that hospital room. And then, let your click be a prayer, a wish, a silent standing ovation for their strength. I'll see you in the final segment.